Hey everybody, it's Tom Clark on Unfurled TV here. Wanted to cover a recent video of Black Pidgeon Speaks that he made and just go over it with you. It's kind of disturbing that he's attacked Jordan Peterson, and I'm trying to figure out what this is about. Maybe you can help me. Anyway, I made a little animation of Black Pidgeon up here because I didn't want to use his video, but we'll use his audio. I've transcribed it here too a little bit. It's probably not perfect. I used Google Translate to get it done, and then my notes are in the boldface, and my transcription of what he says is in the italics. Anyway, let's listen to what he has to say.
As of now, identity politics and the retribalization of the West marches on inextricably forward. And this is to the consternation of those such as Professor Jordan Peterson, who, while sage in much of his advice, looks increasingly to be a completely out-of-touch boomer when it comes to his calls for radical individualism.
An out-of-touch boomer. Jordan Peterson is an out-of-touch boomer. Okay, well, maybe you'll make that case, but I'm not sure why somebody that is supporting, defending, I should say, somebody that is defending Western culture, as Jordan Peterson is, that you're making ad hominem attacks against him. That's not making much sense.
In response to the societal death rattle of political fragmentation currently looming over the United States and the wider Western world.
Yeah, that's a bunch of fancy word salad. I like it. I enjoy word salad, but make your case, sir, against Mr. Peterson. All right, let's see your evidence. So let's go on to the next video.
In fact, Professor Peterson seems as though he doesn't even have a single foot planted in the lived reality of those outside of academia or TV studios. And whether we like it or not, and barring a catastrophic event that erases the divide, identity politics will continue to flourish and dominate the political landscape for at least the foreseeable future.
Well, okay, I'm expecting evidence that Jordan Peterson is out of touch, and now BP is going to show us instead, he's going to show us proof that identity politics is a problem. You're preaching to the choir here. Nobody is going to say identity politics is out of control. You don't need to prove that point to your audience. All right. The proof that you give us is some sort of another ad hominem attack that Professor Peterson doesn't accept the lived reality, and he's got only not even a single foot planted in reality. I mean, since when is lived reality, a good standard of proof? Sociologically speaking, if you're going to study it, you're going to have three people that have a lived reality that are way outside the norm. And are we going to base policies on those three people, or are we going to base it on averages and percentages of outliers, bell curves, that kind of information, a multi-tiered analysis? Or are we just going to accept what some cultural Marxist says about society or some feminist says about society? Those are going to be our standards of evidence that we go after Jordan Peterson with, I guess. Another thing is Jordan Peterson, as far as I know, he claims that he's a clinical psychologist, and he's had hundreds or maybe even thousands of patients. I haven't read his books. I don't study up on him. I've just seen him on YouTube a few times. Take the man at his word. He's got thousands of detractors. You'd think that we'd have articles exposing him if he was a fraud. I haven't seen those. He seems legit, and he makes a lot of sense to a lot of people. I just don't see where you're coming from, that he doesn't have any foot in reality. Just seems to me like you're just poisoning the well for no good reason. I can't figure it out yet. I think I may have a clue, but we'll just kind of leave it at that for now.
In America and almost every country in the West, every group to some extent is now coalescing around tribal political affiliation. Whites, blacks, men, women, straight, gay, the transgendered, atheists, the obese, feminists, Islamists, masochists, anarchists, liberals, conservatives, with new splinter groups forming, it would seem daily. However, with so many wrapped exclusively in their restrictive us versus them mentality, Canada, the United States, the UK, and many other nations in the West now find themselves in the perilous position of no longer having anything that unites the increasingly diverse communities living in the same space. And with ever more potentially disaffected tribes flowing into destination countries daily, other than vapid slogans such as "diversity is our strength," the ties that bind are paper thin, if they exist even at all.
Well, that's some powerful rhetoric. Yeah, that's some powerful rhetoric. But the thing is, the walkaway movement, the election of Donald Trump, people walking away from mainstream media, I think it is counter to what you're arguing here. I think those are all indications that there is something that binds Americans together. But more importantly, right here, as far as your argument against Dr. Peterson, do you seriously believe that he doesn't take race and identity politics as a serious threat? Let's see. Man, he's went after Justin Trudeau. He's went after the media for not appreciating the danger of identity politics. He's firm. He'll look you in the eye and say, "You don't want to go there, sir. You don't know what the fire you're messing with." He's linking this to the atrocities of the 20th century. The Hitler regime, the Stalin regime, the Maoist. He takes identity politics and links it to those things, and you're saying that he doesn't take it seriously? I can't take your argument seriously. Come on. Okay, calm down, Tom. Calm down. You can be okay. You're supposed to be polite. I'm going to be polite. All right. Let's go on to the next one.
This slide into radical socialism and far-left demagoguery has now seen that, in Europe at least, right-wing parties surging everywhere across the continent, and with the seemingly far-left shift of the Democratic Party in the US focusing on ever smaller hills to die on.
Right, exactly. They're focused on dying on ever smaller hills. What does that tell you? That they're winning? It sounds like they're losing. So if they're already losing, what do we need to do to defeat them? We just let them die on their hills. Not Democrats that are reasonable and not physical. I'm not talking about that. But as the socialism and all of that stuff, it's getting repudiated by the American people at this time. Now, it's not totally repudiated, but it's getting there. Apparently, we'll see. I'm just scratching my head trying to figure out what more the American people should do. I mean, we're already electing people that want to close the borders. What else is the solution there, BP?
And increasingly openly leftist candidates that are extreme, there is no reason to believe that in the US it will not suffer the same and similar fate.
Right. So we're seeing in Europe left-leaning parties, and I hate to call them that because I don't like the left and right terms, but definitely socialism, definitely globalists are in retreat in Europe. The nationalist type parties that are saying, hey, Western culture is something that we want to preserve. People are coming out and voting for those parties, and they're getting rid of these multicultural parties left and right in Europe. That's definitely happened. Why should we be afraid of that? We want that. I don't understand your argument.
And the best example of these developmentally challenged millennials are the comrades of the domestic terrorist group Antifa. And being the true useful idiots they are in fact, ironically, prosecuting their revolution, and that revolution will ultimately benefit the 1%.
Oh, okay. A lot of what you're saying I agree with, and I want to tell folks, if you haven't seen his video, go back and watch it. If you've seen it, watch it again, because Black Pidgeon lays out a great case about problems that are going on, but I just don't understand this attack on Peterson and what we're exactly supposed to what his solution is. But anyway, the issue with the millennials is just like every young group. Young people like they dream of My Little Ponies and rainbows and whatever, and once they get out into the real world, they tend to go conservative. So of course, millennials it's gonna take them a while to get there, maybe more than other folks, because they've been coddled much too long, more than the generations before them. But yeah, I don't even think you're making a good case here as to what's going on with Antifa and all these violent groups. They're chasing people away from the Democratic Party, away from globalism, away from multiculturalism. It's driving them right into, like, let's make America great again, and let's have a melting pot again, and let's have borders and have our culture protected and have our economy protected. The 1%, if they wanted Antifa and all of these violent groups to cause disruption and force the American people to turn into globalists, it's Jesus Christ, it's backfiring in their face. It's the worst strategy ever. So so maybe this is a Republican strategy to have Antifa linked to the Democratic Party, and then they'll drive people to the Republican Party. That would be working, but Antifa working for the Democratic Party and the globalists? It ain't working for them, bud.
And this Frankenstein creation that the far left has mutated into is now forcing those on the center left, center, as well as the center right, most of whom are comfortable characterizing themselves as individuals, into the identity politics game, if for no other reason they are feeling threatened and surrounded by hostile and increasingly anger-filled tribes of people.
Yeah, and I agree with that. That's why people are waking up. The Frankenstein that they're seeing, it's a monster. The Frankenstein monster, it's too much. People are like, I'm not going to be a part of that. And people are like, I hated my country. And they see the violence and they're like, No, I love my country. If hating my country leads to violence, I'm going to love my country. And so, I mean, they're saying I don't want to be divided on race, and I don't want to be divided on gender. I don't want those race, gender, identity politics in my life. I don't want anything to do with them. But that doesn't mean that they don't have a group that they want to belong to. They want to be either American or centrist or moderate or maybe even Republican. They want to be a part of a group. And I'm of the opinion that I'm of the opinion that you might not even know what an individualist or an individualism is. I'm not a poli-sci type of guy or anything like that, so I'm just talking through my layman's understanding of individualism. And as far as I know, that's American individualism goes to Enlightenment philosophy, where people have certain inalienable rights, and we don't want those rights to be overrun by the mob. We want people, even though we're mad at, I don't know, just let's take somebody in recent history. Maybe we're mad at Harvey Weinstein for, all the way he's treated women and all of that, and maybe he has raped them and stuff like that. But America doesn't want him to be thrown in prison until he's had his trial. I mean, some do, but an individualist isn't somebody that doesn't join, is not going to join a group. An individualist is somebody that just believes in these kind of certain inalienable rights, these enumerated rights, like the right to, join the church that you want, or the right to free speech. That's individualism. You have those rights, and the mob doesn't get to take those rights away from you. It doesn't mean you can't join, like I said in another video. It doesn't mean that you can't join a gym. It doesn't mean you can't join a political party. It doesn't mean any of that. It just means that you believe. And, correct me if I'm wrong, folks, but it just means basically, there's 100 flavors of it, of individualism. I mean, as a philosophical, academics debating it all day long and whatever. But the concept in people's mind is not, anything that complicated. It's fairly simple. And it's this idea that I have rights that apply to the individual, and the mob just doesn't get to take away those rights because they outnumber me. And we want a government that protects us from the mob. So I think it's apropos that you use Frankenstein's monster who was chased down by a mob. So it's kind of interesting. But yeah, I mean, I think you're confusing the term individual with the political philosophy of American individualism. They're not related.
Now, the problem with people like Professor Peterson and others is that they seem to be incapable or simply unwilling to recognize why identity politics is in the ascent, while at the same time...
What, really? I mean, Jordan Peterson he's been one of the guys on the wall saying, the postmodernists are here, the cultural Marxists are here. What are you talking about? He's like, they've taken over academia. They're in your businesses. They're on Twitters. They're on the social media platforms. What are you talking about? He doesn't see that they've come up and they're causing, that they're of serious danger to society. That's basically how he's made his fame. I don't, as far as I could tell. So maybe you have different material than I have. I don't know. Sorry, guys. I'm not supposed to get upset. I'm not going to get upset. I'm sorry, Mr. Pigeon. I just, to me, though, that is absurd. If I'm wrong, please somebody make the case that Professor Peterson and people flocking away from the Democratic Party are unable to see that identity politics has gotten out of hand. I just want that to be proven, or at least make a rational argument. Just saying it. Maybe I'm the one with cognitive dissonance here. I don't know.
I'm pretending that there is no such thing as group identity, especially
who's this? Come on, please. Seriously. This has got to be the biggest straw man. Who has ever argued there's no such thing as group identity politics? Come on, please.
In an era of mass uncontrolled immigration by extremely tribal groups of people that are currently flooding in.
Yes, that is a problem. This is where we agree. You've got American individualism. That's part of the Western culture. It's the cornerstone of the Western culture as far as I'm concerned, and I think it's the cornerstone of in the minds of the people you see making these walk away videos, and having uncontrolled immigration flood in here. They're not coming here to become American individualists. They're coming here. Well, I shouldn't say they. It looks to be that a lot of them are coming here just because they want to share in the economic success of the United States. And who can blame them? I don't blame them. But I don't want them coming here, destroying the culture that allows us to be economically successful, and so that we turn into the dirt hole that they came out of. I think that we can do better for them by setting an example. If you want to have a successful society, an economic society, you need to follow the American model and American individualism. And if you follow that model, your country will continue to rise out of poverty. It doesn't make any sense for America to spend all of its resources trying to, mollycoddle, be the nanny state for the entire world, when the nanny state for America itself is made us very weak. And then to have more and more people come in, put more pressure on the American individualism, put more pressure on the nanny state, cause America to crash and no longer be the light on the hill. That doesn't do the world any good. It doesn't do the world any good. It doesn't do the people that come here, because they come here, they want to share in American success. They destroy America and it turns into a third world nation. No. So, I agree with you there. But I don't understand the attack on Jordan Peterson. I don't understand the attack on American individualism. Don't understand it.
Simply put, groups that practice nepotism, identitarianism, and tribalism will dominate over groups that do not in this new.
Exactly. You can't not have an American identity and American culture, a Western culture, and think that when people come in, if you're not willing to enforce your culture, that you're going to have that culture when you're overrun with immigrants. And this, to me, this isn't a brown, yellow, Asian. I don't care about your skin color. at all. It doesn't matter to me. I'm just talking about people coming in here with the wrong idea socially. You know, they don't believe in our freedoms. They don't understand that we believe that individuals have rights that supersede the rights of the mob. We don't want that. We don't want people coming in here. We've already got enough that believe in the nanny state, that you should be, you can take money from somebody's pocket and you can use it to live the lifestyle you want to without having to lift a finger. We don't want that. We don't need any more of that. It doesn't have anything to do with color.
Diverse and enriched society we are building in the post-Western world. Only in a world where there is no identity at all or a strong shared identity will individualistic policies and ideas, such as those espoused by Mr. Peterson, lead to a meritocratic utopia.
Again, another straw man. Probably I've heard it said, but it's just went right over my head because it's ridiculous. I don't remember any staunch supporter of meritocracy ever suggesting that, individualism or meritocracy will lead to utopia where everybody has everything they want. No. There are going to be people that are winners, and then there are going to be people that are losers relative to each other. And, you're even going to have people that are just, homeless. I don't think that'll ever be cured. But to say that that's what Peterson and individualists believe in is poppycock. Nobody believes that on the meritocracy side of things. I don't know anybody that believes that. We think it's a shame that there'll be losers, but we just recognize that if you don't do that, instead of having a few that are losers that are lifted up, they're lifted up because the whole society is doing good. Those at the bottom are pulled up by meritocracy despite themselves. That's what we want, rather than everybody being a loser, nobody being allowed to excel, and companies and government being run by dunderheads. We don't want that. We want competent people running businesses, and we want competent people, not these yahoos that we have now, at the government. So, I don't know what to say. As far as I can tell, it's a straw man. If I'm wrong, if you know of these individualism type folks, even libertarians that believe that there's going to be some sort of utopia. I don't know. Maybe you're talking about libertarian socialists or some darn thing. Something that doesn't really exist and can't exist. Any serious defenders of Western culture don't believe that you can achieve a utopia. In fact, Jordan Peterson says, correct me if I'm wrong. Jordan Peterson says, you chase utopia, you'll end up with people in the gas chambers. That's the kind of message that he's trying to infer. So I don't know where this is coming from. I really don't.
Worshipping at the altar of individualism, as he does, is equally wrong as those that talk in such words as comrade, the revolution, socialism.
No, see, look, I know things aren't binary, but you kind of do things in the binary to help solve things, categorize things. What you have basically is you have individualism and you have collectivism. And collectivism means the mob with the most bats that's out in the street, they win. They have the most power. They got their bats, they got their chainsaws, they got their I don't know, baling hooks, whatever the hell, pitchforks. The mob with the best weapons and the most power wins. That's collectivism in a nutshell. And of course, they always, the people that believe it in, yeah, but after we kill off all the individualists, then the rest of us will it'll be all grapefruit and, I don't know, marmalade. I don't know. They're the ones that believe in utopia after they kill everybody that doesn't agree with them. Individualism is the binary against that. Now, there's nuances within individualism, there's nuances within collectivism, and I don't know what your point is unless you think individualism means people that believe in individual rights cannot join a group for some reason. I don't know what you're talking about. Please, somebody, please, I'm begging you, explain this to me. Jiminy, criminy. Settle down, Tom. All right. I'll let you finish.
And everyone that disagrees with me is Hitler-R. It is important to improve individually, and it is important to add to the collective. But it is also very clear that politics is identity and the negotiation between different in and out.
Of course. Politics is a group activity. It just is. I mean, you make up your own mind based upon things, but you don't have to join the, quote, National Individualists of America in order to believe in individualism. You're a member of the individualism group because you believe in that. I mean, there doesn't have to be an official roster for you to be a member of a group. It doesn't. Nobody is barred from joining a group on account that they have self-identified or adopted the ideas of individualism. Doesn't mean they can't join a group. And right now, if we look at what's going on with President Trump getting elected, I didn't support him in the election. I'm happy that he got elected, especially over Hillary Clinton. I was a Ted Cruz supporter before, or during the primaries. I'm happy with how things are going with President Trump. Like many others have said, I think he's kind of a rambler like myself. He's not polished and clear like Ronald Reagan was. Oh man, I just love that, the way he was polished and clear. But hey, he's doing a pretty good job of doing what he promised the public that he would do. He's reducing regulation. He's seems like he's trying to get that immigration issue handled. It looks like he's would have signed off on any tax cut that he could get through both houses. And, I think he's doing what he can. And his Supreme Court pick was great, and this latest one too. So, I mean, that group that you're talking about that doesn't have power seems to be winning. That's why I'm confused. Now, if you want to help push it over the top, you get even more people to adopt individualism or the protection of Western culture. Hey, man, the more the merrier. I'd like for 100% of the nation to wake up and maybe not adopt everything that you're espousing or that I've been espousing, but if they would adopt 65% of it, that'd be awesome. But it looks like right now things are going the way of the defenders of Western culture. So, yeah, it was a close call. We almost had Hillary Clinton. We almost had Hillary Clinton. I can't even say her name. But, yeah, we almost had her. So it was a close call. We survived 8 years of Barack Obama. Things are getting turned back around. We haven't got rid of this healthcare stuff. I wish that would go away. There's a lot of problems left to deal with, but the defenders of Western culture are gaining ground, not losing ground at the moment.
The solutions are there to the nightmare of identity politics. We only need to look back to go forward.
Okay, this is creepy, okay? I don't want to imply that I know that you've got some nefarious scheme in your head, but look, in your video, I didn't show it here, but in your video, you had, the Declaration of Independence up there. And the Declaration of Independence is, of course, a call to revolution. And so I don't know that, if you're just being patriotic or you're making a call to violence or planting the seed for violence or whatever. My thing would be, there may be a time when resorting to violence to save humanity from the brink of destruction might be called for. But we're winning just with the vote right now. So why would we go that far? We're winning right now. I don't understand. You're talking about the solution. We only have to look backwards to go forwards. What a great platitude that is. But what is the solution that you're speaking of? I don't know why you wouldn't say, hey man, you know what we need? We need to go back to what the American founders were talking about. If you wanted to invoke a nostalgia or just not even talk about the past at all and just talk about the future. Imagine a future of freedom where if you wanted to move to a state that has higher taxes, you can go there and they'll have more social services. Or you can, imagine this. Well, that's the America now, so let's keep it that way. I don't know what you're suggesting by this. So why don't you just say it? Seriously, why not just say, look, this is what I propose. What do you guys think? Well, I'm gonna leave it there, folks. I try to keep calm, but do go watch this video from Black Pidgeon. He makes a well laid out case in a lot of other areas, and I only picked on the things that I really thought were troubling to me. I just don't understand this attack on Jordan Peterson. I said it 100 times now. I don't understand this attack on individualism, other than maybe because Black Pidgeon's obviously intelligent. He or his crew or whatever. They put together some good arguments and some good information over there. I don't necessarily agree with, it feels a little more, it feels too much like propaganda to my taste, but, there is a lot of good information in there. I think that video has some good information in there to think about. But I did have a problem with this attack, and I just had to make a video on it. So thank you for your time. God bless.